Kumusta mga Exile? Gamers here. Welcome to another my budget build guide, and in this video I'm gonna talk about my Icicle Mine Saboteur. And to begin this guide, I'm gonna talk about my equipments, and I'm not using lots of unique item in this build. I'm only using this Hyperberries leather belt and this Dodris Corn Lunaris circlet, and this helmet gives you +2 to level of sacred curse gems and increased elemental damage and increased damage with hits per curse on enemies. And this is where I put my curses. And for this Hyperberries leather belt, this will give you 69 increased damage with hits against chilled enemies. That is why you're going to need these killer bots, because this will chill your enemies. And for the rare items, first I'm gonna talk about my weapons. Either look for wand or a scepter with high spell damage or elemental damage or cold damage, and also try to look for some crit multiplier or some of this non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. And then I just crafted this cold damage to spells. For these gloves, look for these socketed gems are supported by slower projectiles and crit multiplier. And you don't really need to get a gloves with high life and elemental resistance, because that's going to be very expensive. And for the amulet, look for an amulet with high dexterity, because you're gonna need it for your gem requirements, and also some spell damage and crit multiplier, and most importantly this maximum mana and mana regeneration. And I anointed this amulet with Heart Seeker, which gives me 30% crit multiplier, and you're gonna need 1 teal oil and 2 crimson oil. And for the rings, same thing, you're gonna need lots of mana regeneration, and if you can, some mana maximum to mana. And for the rest of my rare item, they are just life and resist. And for the flask, I'm using Atsiri's Promise for extra chaos damage, Diamond Flask for more crit, Granite Flask for more armor, and Quicksilver Flask for increased movement speed. And for the gem setups, in my gloves, I'm using Icicle Mine with Trap and Mine Damage, Minefield, and Elemental Focus. And on my wand, I have Ball Righteous Fire, Efficacy, and Increased Duration. And on my helmet, I'm using Stormbrand with Curse on Hit, Projectile Weakness, and Assassin's Mark. And on my armor, I'm using low level Steel Skin and cast when damage is taken, and level 5 Clarity and Herald of Ice. And I just added this Precision, level 1 Precision, which gives me increased critical strike chance. And on my other wand, I'm using Flame Dash with Arcane Surge and increased duration. And on my boots, I'm using Summon Skitter bots with Infernal Legion, and I'm gonna tell you later why this is important. And Summon Flame Golem with cast when damage is taken. For the Pantheon, I'm using this Soul of the Brine King for the 2-second stun immunity, and this Soul of Rootcool for the physical damage reduction. For the Ascendancy, I'm using Saboteur, and I'm using this Explosive Expert, which gives me 30% to crit multiplier against burning enemies, and that is why I added this Infernal Legion to my Skitter bots. And also this node gives you 80% crit chance against shock enemies, and damage penetrate 10% elemental resistance against chilled enemies. That is why this Skitter bots is very important to this build. And also I'm using this Pyromantic node, which gives me lots of life regeneration and reduce mine mana reservation. But if you want more damage, you can use this Born in the Shadows, which gives you 30% increased damage with hits against blinded enemies. And also it says here nearby enemies are blinded. So to increase your damage, you're gonna stand nearby your enemies. And also I'm using this Bomb Specialist, which gives me mine throwing speed and increased damage. And lastly, this Demolition Specialist, which gives 100% increased effect of aura from mines. For the skill tree, get this mine nodes and this Blood++ Cascade, which give you chance of gaining power charges. And also I'm using this piercing shots, which makes your Icicle Mine really good for clearing mobs. And more mine nodes here. And also I'm using this successive detonation, which gives you lots of crit chance and crit multiplier. And also I'm using this Whisper of Doom, so I can apply an additional curse. And this crit chance and crit multiplier for your spells. And more here. And I think that's all I can say about this build. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Magkita na lang tayo sa susunod na video.